Thank you, Sophia. Let's now bring in the Deputy Party Leader of the Amani National Congress, ANC party to the National Super Alliance. Thank you for joining us, Kipruto Kirwa, that is. This agreement to formalize NASA, you say as NASA, it is not a power-sharing agreement. What exactly is it, and what's different now?
Well, there are a number of issues that have been highlighted by the media today, and they are in our document. Principal among them is the issue of creating a platform for Kenyans to do business and also to participate in government affairs. Today, as you realize, many companies that provide insurance to almost practically all parastatal and government vehicles and other institutions of government belong to some individuals in power. We have said clearly that if you are going to hold any position within the NASA government, you will not be doing any business other than the job you are appointed, you are elected to do.
Right. So it's the 7-point agenda. It is just basically about that. We have highlighted that in our story.
Yes, those are the issues, but we want to do business differently, given the fact that we have a lot of experience in government and we are not excited about power. What we are saying is that we want to create a forum for Kenyans to participate, and we want a power arrangement that is all-inclusive so that no part of this country feels alienated from the government of the day.
Let's talk about that reaction from the Deputy President saying that all you are interested in is sharing power and that you bring nothing new to Kenya's politics.
Well, I enjoy and I like his imagination because I've heard him before. I heard him in 2002 when he was saying there is no way Moi can lose to the opposition. They lost and we won. This time round, history is going to repeat itself. And I just want to advise my young brother, William, that it's not about just being sarcastic about every initiative Kenyans put on the table. You should also consider that the mandate of the people shall win at the end of the day. We've given him enough time to win power for the last 4 years. What they have done, they have borrowed more than 2.7 trillion. And that is the debt that Kenyans are going to pay.
Let's talk about that deal. Now that the 4 principals have penned their, they have appended their signatures to that document, what happens if one of them decides to pull out anyway? What mechanism, stops one of them from doing that?
Well, first of all, our coming together is premised on the fact that there is some good faith, and we do understand the agenda Kenyans have, and we do understand the problem bedeviling our society. Therefore, each of the leaders, and we've been doing a lot of consultations, apart from dealing with the documents, we have been doing a lot of shuttle diplomacy between the leaders and among the leaders, and also among their followers, so that we get to a situation where we want to hand over to Kenyans the government of their own. Otherwise, the government that we have today is a government between 2 individuals, William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right, let's stay with that deal, and you insist it's not a power-sharing agreement, but there have been some reports of a position of chief minister that ostensibly is supposed to go to the one of the 4 principals who emerges as the 3rd in the nomination for the presidential ticket. What is this about? Is it a prime minister position in disguise? What is it?
Well, let me say this. I like the fertile imagination of Kenyans because what we've been dealing is the document that we presented to you today. Issues of power arrangement, we have mentioned in one of the articles that we are going to deal with the details of how we are going to arrange government. Remember, the current constitution does not provide for any position of prime minister, but in its own articles, it provides for arrangement of government the way the president so wishes. And therefore, at the end of the day, we are going to have a position that is going to include all Kenyans. Number 2, remember we said we are going to invite Kenyans to give us their views on what they feel about the current constitution, given the fact that the constitution now has been with us for 7 years. Kenyans may want to relook at the constitution and decide whether it is in keeping with the realities of the day, or it is going to be a constitution that needs to be altered for purposes of ensuring there is parliamentary democracy in its fullest extent. But let me say this. What we are saying is that our focus is not on power sharing, but in any political game, and that is what Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi said this afternoon, in any political game, it's about power.
Right.
And we cannot pretend, even Uhuru and Ruto, it's about power.
Re-election is about power.
Yes.
Let's stay with that. And are you saying there's a possibility that if NASA ascends to power, they are asking or, trying to woo voters on the premise that they should or they would, they could be telling Kenyans to go to a referendum to create a position of prime minister for power sharing?
Yeah, thank you so much. As I said earlier, the Constitution is now mature enough for us to do an audit as Kenyans. And our platform is first to secure the government and deliver to the people, a government that is all-inclusive. The next agenda will be to engage with Kenyans, see whether it is in keeping with the tradition and the realities of the Constitution and the spirit of the same Constitution for us to do an amendment to the Constitution to reflect the realities of the day. Remember, there are certain transitional clauses that we have, and also they said, it was stated that after a certain period, we shall review and see what we can do as far as the Constitution is concerned.
All right. You talked about 2002 during the National Rainbow Coalition. There was a memorandum of understanding that was signed and was later not honored. We have had reports, Kenyans have had reports of MOUs that have been signed and not honored. What's different about this one?
Well, that was an MOU that was, I was signatory to it. I was among the 8 members of the summit at that particular time.
Yes.
Circumstances that did take place that precipitated some confusion. One, the president had an accident on the eve of elections. And in the process, we lost the late Vice President, Kijana Wamalwa. And many other things took place. And the challenge that we had at that particular time was some make-believe individuals took center stage and hijacked the power that we had gotten from the people. This time, if you look carefully at the clauses of this particular document, which we have now registered, there are clear, demonstrable ways of ensuring that we don't lose the course. We stay on course.
All right. Does this mean that the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy Code is not dead in the water?
No, it is on transition. If you look at the clauses of Code Coalition, it is very clear that at the end of this term, at the end of this particular parliament, that's on the 8th of August this year, right, it shall stand dissolved. So we are at a point of transition. Our colleagues are with us in NASA, and they are transiting for the balance of the period. They are still going to be in parliament under the Code Coalition. So it has not been annulled by the formation of NASA.
All right. In this deal that was signed today, did you seek to address the issue of the method that is going to be used to pick the presidential flag bearer in March?
It is inferred in one of the articles, and our next move as the National Coordinating Committee is to go into the details of the determinants of getting a presidential candidate. What are the parameters that we are going to employ to ensure that we get somebody that is going to be acceptable across the board? Number 2, we are also going to deal with the issues of looking at the power arrangements within the government and within other systems of state, like the legislature and other organs that are electable, be it at the county level or at the national level. Those are the 2 areas we are going to deal with. And number 3, we are going to deal with the exercise of going through a nomination for all our candidates, be it at the county level, at the civic level, or at the national level.
All right. So if this document, is it safe to say it has not dealt with that issue of selecting, or the method of selecting the president flag bearer, the document that was signed today?
It has provided the framework in 4 stages. One of the ways is consensus. The other way is getting an electoral college to deal with that issue.
All right.
The third and most important is also going for universal suffrage.
All right.
So any of the methods shall be employed, but we feel that We shall be informed by the wisdom of our leaders and also by the details that will emanate from military that we're going to take.
Is it safe to say that NASA is yet to deal with their elephant in the room?
Well, where we've come from and where we are, I feel we are nearer to the end of the tunnel than we were yesterday.
How can you, what are the similarities between now and 2002?
Well,
where you sit?
Apart from the fact that Kenyans are totally fed up with the level of debt, and you see, for avoidance of doubt, let me remind Kenyans, when Kibaki left power, our borrowing was at 800 billion. Today, we are at 3.7 trillion. The two guys in power, they have been borrowing an average of 700 billion every year. And the GDP they are talking about is the GDP that arises out of the borrowing. It is not out of internal mechanisms of production.
All right.
This is a society that is now boasting of GDP out of borrowing.
All right. But for your momentum, do Kenyans understand that there seems to be no momentum that was there in 2002?
Well, there is a lot of momentum. Remember, Kenyans are not going to be fooled again. They are slightly more intelligent than the leaders take them.
All right.
We talk to them and we understand their frustrations.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
so
it's
much.
my pleasure.
Kipruto Kirwa, Deputy Party Leader of the Amani National Congress, ANC. That is, of course, Musalia Mudavadi's political party, part of the National Super Alliance, is putting some issues into perspective. Back to you, Sophia.